So I guess it started. Yes. All right. So welcome everybody to the SUG Quebec and SUG Montreal collaboration. I say collaboration because I am organizing both, but now that we are hosting a remote event, I decided to do an event for both of the user group. Also, wait, give me a second. Do you guys see my screen at first? I started, but I
We
didn't
do,
ask.
yes.
All right, nice. So yeah, I hope you had an awesome day, and maybe you had the opportunity to enjoy the snow today, or maybe the others had some more warm temperature. I'm not sure. That's one of the bright side of the remote work pandemic situation that we live in right now. I can host some remote event. I'm happy to host the very first SUG Quebec collaboration. That's the first of many more. I will continue to hold some remote conference in the future, but you can definitely expect live person events really soon, as I am actually working on that for both Sidecar User Group, Quebec and Montreal. The agenda for today, I'm going to introduce the speakers, and right after that, we're going to jump into the Composable DXP from Nabil and Sana, and then there will be a Kajoo live demo, and at the end, we have a conclusion, which is basically Q&A session or comments or just chat, but we have time for that as well at the end. Before we start, I just wanted to say a big thank you to my sponsor for this event. It's Collège La Salle. Even though we are remote, they gave me the opportunity or the time to prepare such event on my work daily basis, let's say. So La Salle College is the largest bilingual college in North America. Almost 25% of the student population that the campus welcomes each year come from all over the world. We have a lot of reputed programs within technology, such as computing science, technologies, network security management, business intelligence, and on and on. So a big thank you to La Salle College to enable me to prepare such event. Now, our speakers. We have Nabil Orfali that you guys met earlier during this meeting. He is a digital transformation leader, 5-time Cycor MVP, like he said. He's a Canadian serial entrepreneur. He's also the creator of Kajoo and the co-founder of TechGuilds, a Cycor strategic partner and a certified Covio enterprise search partner. We then have also Sana Kamalmaz. She is a marketer with an instinct for developing digital strategies that tell compelling stories through different channels. As a strategy MVP and director of digital strategy at TechGuilds, she helps clients attract, engage, and delight customers using Cycor. That was my introduction for you guys. Now the mic, the floor, or should I say the team's control is yours. I guess you guys are going to share screen as well. So I'm gonna, oh,
There
magic.
you go.
All right,
Just wish
perfect.
for it, man. Wish for it. It
Yeah,
happens. It have to
I
happen.
just had to think about it. Perfect. Floor is yours. Thank you, guys.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for the great intro. So basically today, as Jean-Nicolas said, going to be talking about the composable DXP. And this session came around during Cycor Symposium, and around Cycor Symposium this year, we started to hear a lot about composable DXP and the whole symposium and Cycor strategy has been around composable DXP. And me and Sana thought, why don't we just have a session with the title, "What the heck is a composable DXP anyway?" And we put together this composable DXP 101: concepts, benefits, challenges, and the fastest path to catch the next wave of composability. So we got an introduction already. Thank you so much. So I'm going to skip this. So in this session, we're going to be talking about these 8 things. What is a DXP? Start from the basics. What is a monolithic DXP and the limitations? What is composability as a concept in general? And then the basic technical concepts of the composable DXP. And then we're going to be talking about what is a composable DXP, dig deep into that, in simple concepts. And then, we'll talk about their benefits and challenges. And then we're going to see what is the most efficient path to achieve composability using no-code, low-code platforms like Kajoo. So what is really a DXP? It all started with a CMS, content management system, which is basically the basic of any digital experience. You need content, you need a presentation, and you need to present that content in an easy way for the marketer and content author to create pages, manage content and build experiences. And then it evolved from a CMS to include marketing features like marketing automation, personalization, forms, analytics, A/B testing, also, the need for commerce. So then companies started to really build on top of CMSs all these features, and then we have CMSs evolve to be a digital experience platform, which is really a CMS on the core and then all these other features on top of it. And that this evolution over the years, it's all resulted in like one massive beast of a platform that has all these features that you need or you don't need in one platform that you have to buy a license for, and it's called monolithic DXP. So Gartner started to differentiate between a DXP or a monolithic DXP. We'll get to that in a minute, but a monolithic term, it refers to these all functionalities managed by a single software vendor and created by a single software vendor, and it needs to be implemented, maintained, integrated as one big platform, and that's resulted in, as many of you know, how many times you did like a cycle upgrade, how many times you spend like a lot of money on maintaining, fixing bugs, issues, maintaining features that you don't even use, like for example XDP or analytics or marketing automation, while most of the people, they just want a CMS that is functioning. And so a lot of limitations to the monolithic approach. It also accumulates a technical debt over time, and then it requires you to keep on, as I said, upgrading and migrating the code, the technologies, and also not mentioning as well the hosting. You need to host it. You need to provide managed services for the platform, either internally or engaging another vendor. So that's basically, it's referred to now as a monolithic DXP. And now the new thing that we're talking about here is composability, and I will hand it over to you, Sana. Is that your slide, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep. Yeah, I can take it
All right.
from here. Thank you. So I'll start sharing my screen, and could you please let me know if you see it?
We do.
Amazing. Okay, so thank you, Nabil. And so before we jump into composable DXPs, I thought we could talk a little bit about composability in general, which is a system design principle where the system is made of a collection of interchangeable components, which you can think of as building blocks. And the concept doesn't apply only to DXPs or to technology specifically, but also applies to businesses. So Gartner, according to them, a composable business is an organization that delivers business outcomes and adapts to the pace of business change through the assembly and composition of packaged business capabilities. And we will touch on those later in the slides. That being said about composability in general, let's look at what a composable DXP is, which is really a digital experience platform that doesn't package all the services that are required to deliver contextual and personalized experiences in an all-in-one suite. Instead, what it does is actually built out of interchangeable or interconnected packaged business capabilities. Examples of these are content management system, search, optimization, personalization, DAM, digital asset management, customer data platforms, all of these. Each one of these can be delivered or developed by a separate vendor. And all of them are integrated together and connected with one another to serve as a single control center for all the customer touchpoints. Now, this approach allows businesses to buy, configure, and connect the pieces they actually need and use. And those pieces usually come in the form of SaaS microservices, where the vendor is usually responsible for availability, security, and also upgrades, which makes the maintenance and the upgrading of Composable DXP much easier. If we are to compare the Composable DXPs to their monolithic origin, it'll look like this. In the monolithic approach, all the surfaces are actually packaged in one suite, while in the composable approach, they are built of interchangeable and modular components. And they are interconnected and interchangeable. These are, the building blocks of the composable DXPs. And we can see that each one of them is actually developed around one business functionality, or they can represent one packaged business capability. And as I mentioned before, they can be delivered by one vendor or multiple vendors, whatever suits the business. So the business can actually pick and choose, mix and match, and build the composable DXPs out of solutions that best suit their needs. Here there are concepts that are very related to composable DXPs. One is headless CMS, and headless CMS, as you might know, is a CMS that doesn't actually include the presentation layer or the front end, which the end user sees. What it actually includes instead is an API, which it includes an API which helps it to connect to custom applications that serve as the front end, which the end user sees. And a headless CMS is actually an essential part of the composable DXP. The packaged business capability is an application or service developed around a particular business function. And example of these is a content management system, search, analytics, optimization, personalization, DAM, CDP, and so on. And packaged business capabilities are actually the building blocks of a composable DXPs. Now, a microservice is the technical side of a packaged business capability, which offers an API to enable the integration. So what are the benefits of this approach? Well, first, there is customizability, or the ability to build best-of-breed solutions. Composability and modularity means that a business doesn't need to pay for a service that it doesn't need, or doesn't need to stick with something that doesn't work for them. What they can do is actually mix and match and choose and build their systems out of solutions that work best for them. And then there is the increased competition between the PBC vendors. Because businesses can actually switch PBCs for one another, this actually creates a healthy competition between the vendors. And then there is speed, where there is not a lot of time needed to be spent on customizing a solution by in-house developers or by an agency. What's needed really is to actually pay for the services they need, configure them, and connect them to one another. And then there's agility, where replatforming, redesigning, and upgrading become easier than ever. Because businesses can actually, if a business outgrows one of the services, it can just disconnect it and connect a new one. If it wishes to redesign an interface, it can do so without touching the content repository. And upgrading becomes easier also because of, a lot of the upgrades are actually handled by the vendors, them being, SaaS microservices. And there's also performance and SEO benefits. A composable DXP with a headless CMS at the core actually offers a lot of SEO and performance benefits. There is flexibility due to the, full control over the markup. And there's stability because, pages are, preloaded and available over CDN. And there is speed also because, or through the use of static web generators. And this can allow for optimizing for web core vitals. And last but not least, and this is more of an opportunity than a benefit, but low code and no code solutions actually present opportunities for plug and play PPCs. And this is something that Nabil will touch on later in the presentation. Are they without challenges? Well, no. There are challenges with the composable approach. One is the fact that the transition to serverless architecture requires proper planning and strategy. And the fact that it actually requires both highly skilled and highly specialized front-end developers. At the moment, there is no standard solution for truly headless presentation layer, so it still requires custom app development. And this is also related to the fact that it's still the early days of this approach. So there are not a lot of, proven solutions out there. Initial license costs for multiple PPCs can be more expensive than one monolithic system license. It should be noted, however, that the total cost of ownership remains usually less in a composable approach. And last but not least is the lack of a WYSIWYG editor to build experiences. And this applies only to truly headless solutions. But there is a solution for that one, and Nabil is going to also touch on that later. And with that, I will hand over back to you, Nabil.
I'm muted, sorry. Thank you so much, Sana.
No worries.
I will reshare my screen. 1 second. Present. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we do.
All right. Okay, so now this all sounds great, but we know that we all stuck with, an MVC implementation, a web forms implementation in many cases, believe it or not, legacy monolithic platforms that we spend millions of dollars implementing. So how can we really take advantage of that composable world? So according to Gartner, the journey to composable DXP and the future of applications will be incremental and modular. So this is really the best way to achieve that. It's not a destination, it's a journey, and it's incremental and modular. So how we can achieve that is by following these 3 steps. First of all, we need to prepare and evaluate our current state, identify the gaps, and see what are the areas that we need to, what is the highest priority functionalities or BBC we need to take out or at least migrate that to. So an example for that, like let's say we're using Sitecore and then XDB and Sitecore Analytics, but it's really a lot to maintain. It's giving us troubles. Every now and then it breaks and we need to fix it. Maybe we just switch that on its own to the new Sitecore CDP, where it has like personalization and analytics and all this stuff hosted on the SaaS platform, and you can just plug it in, integrate it with your existing Sitecore platform. So that's like one example. Or maybe like a form service, Sitecore Forms is also not, it's giving you some limitations and you want to switch it with type forms or job forms or any SaaS form service, or maybe Eloqua or Marketo. So identify, assess the current state and then have a roadmap on the gaps and the highest priority services you need to migrate. And then, of course, after you identify that, the second stage is build or buy. Acquire these capabilities, buy the licenses, and start to integrate slowly and migrate slowly to those to, eventually over time, you will be like better off migrating slowly. After you transform and you're happy with all the services you got, can scale. So the idea here is that, you know, just do it in an agile way, do it in an incremental modular way, and you can scale up from there. And again, I want to stress the fact it's more on the process and strategy than on the technical implementation. It's all about agility and modularity and incremental enhancement. So you don't have to like spend a year and $2 million to just stop everything and replatform. Just do it in a modular way, slowly. So, and I'll speak to like how we can achieve that. Like, what is the best way to where to start really in a second. So as we said, like the Composable DXP is a set of packaged business capabilities, right? So if you want to talk about the architecture for a Composable DXP on a high level, so on the left-hand side, you can see samples of the PBCs, headless CMS, whether it's Sitecore or you know, other headless CMS. Sitecore really talked a lot during symposium about the fact that Sitecore is going to be playing nicely with neighbors. So, and that's really the definition of a composable DXP, right? Like you don't have to get all the services from one source. So if you got the headless CMS from Sitecore, you can get forms from other place, market automation from other place, or maybe you go to Sitecore Send. But you know, this is one sample, you know, example of a BCP or BBC. Headless CMS, headless commerce, order cloud or commerce tools, or you know, big commerce. There's a lot of great commerce systems out there. A customer data platform like CDP, you know, CycleBox Ever is really a strong and solid solution for personalization and you know, analytics. We also have Uniform, who's also providing like Uniform Optimize, very nice solution for personalization as well. You can choose, you know, any solution that works for you. Marketing automation, DAM, right? And then once you have all that, those systems, you choose your microservices. You need an integration layer, right? So in a lot of architectures that we've done, when we set on the architecture and systems we're going to be using, you would need often to build this orchestration layer to move data between different systems and provide like a orchestration to, you know, manage the data and the content and even the customized business logic between all the systems. So this is where you would need an internal APIs. Usually we do it in a kind of an enterprise service bus that has, you know, set of APIs, and the service bus would orchestrate the messaging between systems. And then you can plug and play, plug any system and just, you know, get it to work. So that's the first part. And then the experience part, you know, in the middle layer here, the presentation layer, the head. We call it the head or presentation layer or the experience itself, whether it's a web experience or IoT or VR or any experience, you need a technology to build it. And then once you build that experience, of course, you need to connect it and integrate it with the backend systems, the BBCs, the microservices. So the modern technologies for composable DXPs are, as you would know, Next.js, React, Vue, Angular, and .NET Core. Those are like the new technologies that, you know, is widely used and very lightweight and easy to use. And also to make that much easier and to orchestrate and integrate all these microservices together, we build Kajoo AI code generator, which is really capable of converting designs into working code and integrates with APIs with really no coding. So the evolution of no-code, low-code platforms like Kajoo would allow you to really generate this code on any of these technologies, React, Next, or Angular, or Vue, from a design, and then we'll do the backend integration automatically using AI. So this will save 80% of the development work, and we'll leave the 20% for developers to focus on the higher value work. Integrations, customization, higher value work than the repetitive building components and presentation work, right? So this is the second part of the DXP, composable DXP architecture. The last one is, of course, you need to host it somewhere. Previously, in the monolithic DXP architecture, the presentation is coupled with the CMS or with the system, and then it's hosted on the same, CD, and then you have a CM and probably multiple CDs. It's slow, it's costly, it needs to be managed. Now with this composable DXP architecture, we see the new modern CDNs like Vercel, Netlify, Azure, DigitalOcean, even Cloudflare now, they have, they call it Cloudflare pages. Basically what it is a very lightweight and fast hosting mechanism that you can connect it to the source code and the content on the back end, or connect it to APIs, endpoints, and the code, and it does all the it takes all the information from both. It does the building of the code, and also it hosts it. It generates a static site and it hosts it on Vercel or Netlify on this service. So this is a very nice architecture that now emerged with the headless CMSs and the Jamstack world, and to as well close the loop on the composable DXP, we build what's called Kajoo deploy, which actually allows you to deploy all the code that is generated from a design and integrate with APIs. One-click deployment. It pushes it to your hosting service on the head and on the Cycor CM side with one click, without any. We don't have to do any like a DevOps or CI/CD or hassle with like JSS or headless topology per se. So this completes the whole picture. You have the PBCs on the left, and then the presentation layer for the experience, and then you need to host it somewhere, make it available in a much faster way to the users. Any questions and comments on this?
I don't have for now.
Excellent.
I do have some for the handle.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Very good. Okay. So now just continuing on the path to composability. Like we said, like we're gonna decompose our DXP gradually into modular business package capabilities in an agile way. And then I believe, and this is something we've been doing to our clients as well, the very first step to modernize and move to composable DXP is move to headless, right? So you are on Cycor MVC or web forms. Most likely 80%, 70% of your implementation is components, front-end components. A lot of them, I'm pretty sure, is simple presentation components, carousel, news, lists, teaser, what have you, footer, header, menu, tabs, accordions. Those are the common components used with every single website. So move them to headless. Just move from MVC to headless. I know it sounds like you're going to be replatforming and redoing a lot of the coding, but luckily with Kajoo, I'm going to show you that in a minute, how you can really migrate from MVC or web forms to headless much easier, and you can save a lot of time and money using like no-code, low-code platforms like Kajoo. But really, you know, moving to headless is the first step because you're decoupling your application from the backend system. And then you can slowly move different capabilities to SaaS or to composability. But in the core of it, you need to have your experience on headless. So I believe that this is the very first step. And now, you know, using something like Kajoo, I tell you, I'm going to show you how you can leverage that right now. And then it's not only, it doesn't only help you with migrating from MVC to headless and generate the new experiences and new presentations, but also you can integrate with different microservices through Kajoo visually. So for example, when I use Cycle Forms, sure, you can add a forms component or element to the canvas. I'll show you that in a second. And then you can get Cycle Forms from your Cycle, or you want to use type forms, you just connect it to type forms and, you know, build your landing page with a type forms form, and then the submissions would go to Zapier, and then you move it to your CRM. Like just that as an example. Just do that in an agile way and using like visually using tools like Kajoo. Now, all that's great. Shall we just see it in action?
I can't wait to see it.
All right. Any questions on what we said, or should we dive in?
I think we should dive in and keep the question for after. I'm just scared that my, you know, I know I have some question, but I don't want to take the whole time for that. But let's see
right.
the Kajoo in action.
Let's do that. So I'm going to share now my touch screen, and I will start by sketching a very common component, you know, of your choice. This is Paint. So I can sketch a component on Paint, on piece of paper, take a photo, piece of napkin, doesn't really matter, and then save it as an image and upload it to the platform. So what a common component would be, let's say, Sana, you help me here. An image, you would need an image, right?
An image and a button for the call to action, and
Sure.
first text and then the call to action button. And Nabil is brave enough to show us his drawing skills live. So.
Oh my, yeah. And should we have a header of some sort here?
Definitely, yeah.
Or a heading? Okay. Is that good enough? Let's call this a teaser. Maybe. Okay, I'm gonna save that. We'll call it Montreal Quebec SUG teaser. How about that? Okay. Now I'm gonna share the other screen. Where is Kajoo? There you go. All right. So I'm going to create a new project from a sketch, and I will upload my sketch. Where did I save it? I think it's in Kajoo demo, wireframes, Montreal. This is our component that we sketched, right? I'm gonna upload the image. I just wanted you to verify that because I know it's hard to believe, right? So there's no magic trick here. That's the file name. That's the sketch. So I'll call it Quebec SUG teaser. And when I hit create right now, the magic starts really. This sketch is going to be sent to the AI machine learning algorithm. It's going to convert it to web elements. And then as soon as I click on it, it will convert it to working web elements here. So you can see here, there's the header. That's a paragraph. This is my button. And you can see here, there is the AI auto layout algorithm is always in real time trying to make sense of what I'm doing and structure the code in real time. So if I move this container to the back, and I'm changing stuff here, I want to move this button. Come on, why did it get back? Get back here. Okay, I'll get rid of it. So you see, if I change the button location or the elements, it's restructuring the component to the best way. Of course, in a responsive way, in the best practice way. I can also, if I forgot to add something here, so I can add maybe like a checkbox for maybe consent, or like GDPR or something. Where is the checkbox? Checkbox here. So you can see here when I'm adding stuff, it's restructuring the code in real time. So I'm gonna make this bigger. Okay, cool. Now, but this is not my style. This is not my brand colors and style. Like how can I really like apply my brand style guide to it? So we implemented an interactive design system, and you pre-implement your style guide, and with a push of a button, choose your theme. We call it themes. All the styles will be applied to every element. And I'll show you in a second here, when you create your design system, you add your colors, all the brand colors. You can even, change the color or add new colors. You can add all your fonts integrated with Google Fonts, or you can upload your own custom font. You can add all the variations of headers, paragraphs, buttons, links, videos, containers, every web element. And then once you sketch something and upload it, you just click a button and apply your styles here. And then you can choose different variants of every element here if you have like multiple buttons. You may ask, is that responsive? Well, yes, it is. And you can, as a matter of fact, design different, or like have a different designs or styles for every breakpoint. So you can say on a X large screen, you may want to have maybe like a background image for this component. So you would go and add a background image, but on a smaller screen, I don't really want that. So you can see all the media queries are generated properly here. So you can see here the code, all the code, the CSS is displayed as well here. You can, this is like a kind of a smaller, small Visual Studio editor. You can add stuff, like maybe shadow. It's cut off here a little bit. But you can change it and save it manually, or you can change them visually. So all the styling, all the modern CSS and styling capabilities is here available visually, including all the margins, padding, width, height, minimum, maximum, flex properties, layouts, fonts, borders, everything you would need here. So front-end developers really love that because they don't have to code everything manually, just style it visually, and all the everything else will be taken care of. And then you can preview it here. You see how my component will be rendered and how the responsiveness would be. So you can see here it's all wrapped properly, stacks properly. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, great. Now I'm happy with it. Sana, you happy with it? Should we generate the code and give you the page for content?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to open the Sitecore demo here, Sitecore implementation demo, and I'll refresh this components list. You can see and verify there is no Sitecore user group teaser component, right? So I'm going to go ahead and publish. When you publish, this is where Kajoo deploy is going to start. So you can choose one of three actions. It's just worth mentioning here that we actually followed and tapped into the existing development process that is best practice and used by developers. So if a marketer or a content author or any user want to deploy a component, we're not really stepping on anyone's toes. The code would be checked in source control, will be a PR pull request to be approved by architect or developer, and then there will be an approval process to review the code and push it to any environment, QA, development, UAT, or even production. The code will be checked in your source control to the JSS app. So you can choose here either to check in the code, generate the code, and check it in only, and then you can pick it up with Visual Studio and massage it, review it, approve it, do whatever you want with it, or just deploy, download the code, generate the code, and download it. I'm gonna do that right now. So I have the code for my component generated right now. I'm gonna just open it here quickly. I know there's many developers here, so you'd love to see this. This is the component code. This is the React code. Oops. Okay, I don't have Visual Studio on this laptop, but I will open it with Node. It's not allowing me. I'll have to unpack it first. All right. Microsoft Windows-based script host, sure. Whatever that is. Nope. Okay, we'll try something else. Any suggestions? This is Windows 11 and
is there not a Notepad++ in there?
I used to have that, but it's a new laptop, Notepad. Okay, there you go. So this is the React code. You can see here, import React. That's the markup, and this is the props. And all the integration with the Sitecore JSS APIs are in place out of the box. It's all connected to the data templates that will be created. So here, this is the header element. If you go to the data tab here, this name is the name of the field of the data template. You can change it to whatever you want, and you do the mapping this way. So you can see here there is this is the code, and then this is the CSS. All the styles are written classic CSS, best practice, clean. This all the media queries, all responsive. And then you have the manifest. Oops, Notepad. Where is Notepad? So this is the manifest. If you're familiar with the JSS, basically this is going to be sent and deployed to Sitecore, and it will actually create the data templates and the component, the rendering, hook it up. So this is the manifest file what Sitecore would expect. So that's one thing I can do. I can either, again, check in the same code in my repository, download it, and just take a look at it without messing up my code. Or I can do all of these together, but on top of that, deploy to my target instance. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to choose this site, and I'll explain to you what a site is. Basically, you define every JSS app available in your instance is a site. We connect it to a certain code repository. We connect it to, we choose the branch, and then we connect it to certain instances and environments. And then once you choose that site, you can choose the target environment. I only have one production environment here. If you have more, you can have configure like UAT, QA, and multiple instances under each environment. It can be your local dev. So I'm going to choose to deploy to this instance under this environment. And then I'm confirming everything. I'll hit publish. So what's happening right now, we triggered a complete dynamic Azure DevOps pipeline. Now what's happening is it's checking it, generating the code, checking the code in source control, building the whole JSS app, existing code with the new code, make sure there's no conflicts, and then deploy the assets into the heads and the Sycor CM. And I can give you a sneak peek here and show you what's happening in the background because you're technical smart people. So this is a dynamic pipeline. Now it's running and it's going to take a couple of minutes, but it does all what I just described automatically. You don't have to worry about any CI/CD, DevOps. We all know how troublesome that is to set up and streamline other solutions. This is all done for you. This is Kajoo deploy. And why it's building, I want to go back to show you the definitions of the site. So basically, once you start using Kajoo, the first thing you need to do is to go to the instances. Oh, actually, this is production. That's new feature on QA. But you need to download the Kajoo plugin and install it in your Sycor instance. Again, whatever it is, dev, local dev, behind VPN, doesn't matter because you can communicate with it. And as soon as you register, as soon as you install the Kajoo plugin and you log into Kajoo through Sitecore, the plugin is going to register your instance automatically with Kajoo. And it's going to be here. So we'll provide all the information needed for Kajoo to communicate back and forth with the instance for deployments, for anything else. And then you would come here and create kind of a logical environment and say, this is my production environment. It's prod or QA. And then it has these instances, or it's, an environment can have multiple instances, as you may know, right? Like a production can have a CD, CM, 2 CDs. And you can create your environments here this way. And then, of course, the site is basically you create. Actually, I'm gonna open the QA version because this is cleaned up, especially the site. So you put the basic information, Sycor or site name, site URL. Site name would be the JSS app name, and then you can invite users. You may have multiple JSS apps, multiple sites in the same implementation, and you don't want every user to see or be able to deploy to that app. So you can manage permissions this way. Can invite people, and Sana, you're not on QA. Maybe someone else. So, and then you configure the deployments. You choose which environment this site is available on, and you choose the environment here. And then you connect it to source control GitHub. We integrate it with GitHub. As soon as you connect, you choose the repo, you choose the branch, and then you can put more advanced option, the build directory for the component, the build command, and then you configure the head deployment. So this deployment is going to deploy to the Sycor CM. And then you can configure head deployment. If you do like automatic deployment, you can choose FTP or SSH, and you configure the head on DigitalOcean, Azure, AWS, doesn't matter, or Vercel or Netlify, and then then you're good to go. You have your site configured, connected your instances to environment, and then once you deploy, and this is done deploying, once you deploy, you would go and refresh this guy here. Let's refresh. No kidding. I know you're slow. All right. Okay. So you can see here I have multiple JSS apps. Each app here would represent a site in my Kajoo configuration. So I have this site JSS Kajoo QA demo that represents this. And Kajoo-Jama-demo, you can see that name, or you should see it here. JSS Kajoo QA demo. Okay, so let's see. We said what did we name it?
Is in
We named it MQ.
SUG. Okay.
All right, so LMN. Hold on. Okay, so the template is created. Sometimes the component is delayed to arrive at Sitecore if the deployment is not completed 100%. All right, let's try that. So it's worth mentioning that all the components generated by Kajoo, and this is a long list of them, are experience editor friendly. So we had to extend JSS to include all these elements that are here to be experience editor friendly. Usually companies would spend, or developers would spend a lot of time doing that during every project because this is the value that JSS brings to the table with the big editor for headless, right? So my component didn't appear here for some reason. So I'm gonna just go and check.
You do have your logs though on your pipelines, I guess, or
Yeah, I mean, it all succeeded. And I can see here. Okay, so here, registering components. It is there, but maybe it is a little bit delayed. I'm gonna go and check the placeholder settings.
in the meantime, can we extend or customize a little bit about the pipeline? These, or is it all managed by Kajoo?
This is managed by Kajoo. but you definitely can customize it. Like we can even move that pipeline template to your own Azure DevOps and still connect to it. I'm gonna deploy it again. So yeah, you can do that, because we understand like sometimes you would like to use your own Azure DevOps, your own pipeline, and this is like there's a lot of scripting here and parameters and dynamic communication between Kajoo and the pipeline. But if you like to use your own, yeah, for sure, you can package this and deploy it to your Azure DevOps.
And how are you building this? So the npm run build that I see in your pipeline, what it does behind the scene?
Which one?
The build pipeline, the one after build app with npm run build. It's building with like MS build and everything, or?
Yeah, it's so what is it doing is it's taking the existing JSS app that you have, whether you have custom code or the out of the box code, and then it's adding, remember it checked in the new code to the repo. It's taking everything and it's building, is doing the MS build, and the build command is defined here in the site. So you can change that build command.
Okay.
You can put like rendering hosts or whatever you want to change the build command to, and it will just respect it here.
And when
So
you're
you
deploying, you're
yeah.
deploying the whole thing too, right? So you're not just deploying this. Okay.
Yeah. So we're building everything, and then we're deploying all the assets. And you can see here in the deployments tab, all the deployment history, the fail, the success, pending, and once you can download the assets here after it's built for the whole for the component that you built.
And are you also registering those artifacts in the Azure pipeline, or it will be a duplicate, right? So you're just publishing the so the publish build artifacts. I see two steps there. So is there one that publish in Azure and the other one on Kajoo, or?
No, so it's the same thing. So the Azure DevOps would generate the assets, and then Kajoo will take it, we'll host it on our data storage, and then we'll reference it. So what other questions you would have, while this is deploying?
I have another one. So we see that it generates codes from your sketches, right? And then you can download the kind of artifact or whatever the components in the React form with the manifest. Is there a way to do it the other way as well? So you download it. There's something that you're not happy about, so you just want to update this React components and then upload it back with, and then do this code to sketch in the Kajoo site. You know what I mean? Or
so if you have an existing component and you want to tweak it, you mean?
Yes, but I want to tweak the code and then bring it back to Kajoo and then deploy, right?
Right.
Would it make sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense. So you have an existing component, but you want to style it differently, or create a variation of the style, right?
Yeah, or something. Yeah.
We don't have that right now. I mean, the code that is, or the components that you build with Kajoo will be in Kajoo, and you can always go back to them and style them differently and push them back to Sitecore. But I mean, Kajoo is connected to the repository, knows the code that is generated for other components that you have already. I mean, it's not hard to expose that to Kajoo and allow you to style it. But of course, it requires some work to add that feature.
And you had a list of the components made on Kajoo, right? From
Yes.
Kajoo dashboard, you can see the component that was pushed to SUG Core.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and if I have access to the code repository, it means that I could potentially update some code in the source code. How Kajoo will react to that if I do bring the code on my machine and update whatever piece of code I want that is from Kajoo, but I'm using the source code instead.
It wouldn't know. It wouldn't know
Okay.
about these updates. Yeah, once you change them in your code, it wouldn't know about the changes. I mean, it would know about building everything with the changes, you know, on the same component or on a new component. But yeah, it doesn't know about your changes here.
Okay.
Yeah. So think about this as a collaboration platform between designers, marketers, developers. You know, you start ideating, and then you know that the front end developer or you know even the marketer can style it and complete the vision, add the theme to it, and then generate the code. Right, like this is 80% of the work.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you are okay with it and it's on SUG Core, if you do any changes or add any functionality to it in your solution.
Oh yeah, maybe I just don't need, when the first part is done, maybe I don't need to stick to Kajoo after for now, or maybe I'm not sure what happened next. But if most of the job had been done already, then I can just complete the little this and little that I need, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so I'm gonna rename the component and deploy it again. I don't know, some reason.
That's the reason is live demo, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like I did like 2-3 trials before the demo. But in any case, while this is deploying, I'll show you previously generated components by Kajoo. So this one that I just deployed before, right before the demo. You go to the experience editor, you add a component as you'd usually do. And yeah, this is banner and 2 image, November 30th. That's the component. You choose a data source, and then you have that. So it's all editable. This is the style, the font, the image. Oops, that's too large. But this is your component, right? Like it's ready for content and it's all responsive, editable in experience editor. And it's just a component. You can go and compose any page, right? You're building your component library. You want to change the style, you go back to Kajoo, you change the style, either use the same component name and overwrite it, or change the name and create a new one. Doesn't really matter. And yeah, you just build your page and publish it. Put the content and publish it. This is another component similar to what we've done. Image, paragraph, button, and then a checkbox, header.
Oh, I see pressure flips. Okay,
What is that?
the text. Who wrote it? Who wrote the text? Someone is skateboarding here.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, pressure flip. Interesting. Yeah. So, what do you guys think?
Nice. I think I'm talking maybe too much, but if nobody talks, I think it's awesome. That's new to me. I see a lot of potential as well. Is there, like, I don't know if there's secret or no, but do you have, some next step from Kajoo? Do you see, is there any you know release that will happen in the future or something? Is there a vision about Kajoo? What's the vision behind Kajoo as well?
Great question. So we're working actively on Figma integration,
Okay.
Figma design tool. We got a lot of feedback that designers would like to stay in the design tools that they love. So that's the workflow, right, on the enterprise side. So they design all the pages, all the components in Figma, and then you can import them to Kajoo. And then we get all the styles. We add all the different styles of that design into the design system, right? So I mean, you would have components in Figma. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but would have multiple buttons. Yeah. So all these variations would be added to the design system. And then we import all the designs, design tokens, layout, and then we take that and generate the code from there. So this is something we're working on actively. Also, next step for Kajoo is we are working on a Sitecore first approach, which is really if you have existing data templates, you can choose to create a component from an existing data template and apply your style to it. So you don't have to regenerate the data templates that you already have. You have content in and you're happy with the structure, and you can leverage it and just connect it to a new component. We're working on kind of like ability to import React and Next components and sections. So Tailwind UI components, for example, you can import a carousel or any other ready-made component. You can import it and apply your style again, tweak it, and then generate the JSS code or the Sitecore code from there. So we're working on that direction. Also, we're working on integrating with more than Sitecore XP. So integrating with Order Cloud as a commerce system, integrating with CDP, Sitecore Send or Moosend for marketing automation, like more than one microservice. Yeah, so this is basically in a nutshell.
Nice. Yeah, I see it like there's many opportunities with what I see here. I'm not fully aware of what should be done, this and that. But yeah, also you. Oh, sorry, you can go, Chris. I'm going to mute myself for.
I was just going to say, would there be an advantage to having more of an exposure to this integration within Sitecore? So say within your site, going, okay, I know I'm going to build a site within here. So within the menus of Sitecore, clicking on one of those options and having it create the element in the tree and then take you to here, so that you can then, or having you being able to upload an image from, say, inside of one of the other tools, like say Content Hub or Sitecore. Like, would there be any advantage to that? Like, you're building out your tree and going, okay, here's all the, Kajoo pieces, and then.
Right. So you mean I'm in the tree here. I
so
can
on the phone, you right click and you go new Kajoo page.
Right.
And then what it would do was it would either open up the kind of like Page Editor allows you to open up. It would open up the Kajoo, and then it would know your context, so that way when you're then going to do your deploys, you have that context that you're kind of putting it back there, right?
Very interesting idea. You would know
the
site.
I'd say I'd love to see that.
Yeah. No, that's a very nice idea. We used to have like this plugin, the Kajoo plugin. We used to have all the components available here, and then you can click and deploy it. But we actually changed that because we just switched the Kajoo plugin to be just a register and communication way between Sitecore and Kajoo. It establishes.
I like the way that this is laid out here. I'm just wondering if from the context menu, whether now that you have that link, whether now from the context menu, whether you can say, you know, because you're building out a new thing, right? You're building out a new site or a new landing page, or right. So if you right clicked and say, you know, new Kajoo landing page, and it takes the Kajoo, and then at that point you can go, okay, I'm going to create it from whatever. It gives you that context,
and then it deploys it back in place where it came from.
Exactly.
Knowing
so
the site, knowing the everything.
So you're going to a different page, but then when you're deploying, you're actually getting what you're doing kind of back where you came from.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea. Oh, our component arrived. Yay.
Yeah, I was about to say we saw the component here. Nice.
Yeah. It's just sometimes it's delayed a little bit. So let's remove these old components and see our component. Placeholder settings are, of course, all set automatically. So there's our component. Checkbox, the header, the button, the image. It's responsive. Yeah, I actually want to show you one more thing. LCI education. Can I use that as an example?
Yeah. Oops.
Well, let's see how clean the code is. No pressure.
Oh, no pressure.
So this plugin is going to analyze the page and then will allow us to actually copy this styling here.
What's the plugin? Okay, no, that's not Kajoo related, but I'm interested in this plugin though.
Yeah, so this is a plugin from Teleport. We partnered with them, and we're going to be using the same plugin technology, make it available to Kajoo. So basically, you would copy the code. Actually, I'm gonna copy it in a different way. Code sandbox. So this is one of the features we're working on right now. You can copy an existing component from the front end and then convert it into the Sitecore component. It wasn't able to recognize it, unfortunately. I'll use another site. I'm sorry. So this is one of our clients. We did that website. I will scan. So I'll get that component here. Come on, I'll push it to code. We're gonna be doing like a push to Kajoo button. And then you can see this component was rewritten now in React for JSS. So with that, speaking back to talking again about how you can migrate from MVC or legacy to Composable DXP, you can really go to your website and scan the site on the front end and grab the component on the front end, push it to Kajoo, and then generate the component from there. So that would be like the easiest way to move to that headless space. And with that, I will open the floor for more questions.
That's very nice. By the way, I had a question for, I think it was at the beginning when you guys were talking about Composable DXP. I don't recall the whole context again, but we were talking about, being able, like you said, Sitecore will be friendly with the neighbors and this and that, and then we should be able to choose and, pick whatever composable part or the component that we need and make our website with it, right? But I remember at at the time we were talking about WordPress earlier, and that's one thing. It was kind of the thing I liked the most was also the thing I hated the most is it was kind of plugin centric. So basically you had this WordPress box, and then by default you will be pushed to start using plugins, right? But then because of the different versions of this and that, so WordPress being one, and then the compatibility of the versions from different plugin, it became quickly a mess. And I was wondering how how can you be that much of a good friend with the neighbors, and how can it be handled? Does it make sense what I'm saying? I'm not sure I explained myself well there. But
I think the big thing is the reason why we can do composable now. It's because everybody's talking the same language, and it's called JSON, right?
Yeah.
We're all talking the same JSON going back and forth. Now, one thing that is missing now in the JSON world that really should be there is standard data formats. So, like back in the day, we had vCards, so we knew what a contact was, and we had vCal, and that's how we knew what an appointment was. But one of the things that we need to try to do with the JSON is, rather than it being proprietary per vendor, a piece of content should have a basic structure of, like, here's a title or a name or a description. And yes, you can have additional JSON fields that can be added to it. But if you start talking a more general language, right? So for commerce, you have a product, and a product has a SKU, and it has certain taxonomies. Right? If people push the vendors to make those JSON calls more agnostic, then you're going to be able to move between vendors a lot easier, and you're going to be able to manage a lot of the cross-version type stuff, because you're able to get that basic elements that you need, and you can say, well, we're using a newer version, and there's some new data that I can grab that I couldn't grab before. But if I'm hitting the old version, I don't have it. But I think it's up to us as partners to say to those vendors and say, hey, this is what we need. We need this to be compatible across the different lines. And if it's not there, then we create our own central middleware that has that generic until we get that. So that a product is a product, whether you're using Commerce Tool, whether you're using Sitecore Commerce, whether you're using Order Cloud, a product is a product, and here's the JSON, here's the basic JSON that you're getting back. And I think that us as solutions architects, we need to be working together to build that, and that will stop that whole, oh, you need to have a plugin and a version and a whatever. You have that basic JSON schema, and because JSON can be read cleanly, regardless of whether you have additional fields or not, you're basically parsing it and grabbing what you need. That's the key, and I think that's
a very interesting point, Chris. Very, very interesting point. And you asked us about the vision and the roadmap for Kajoo. And I just want to say here, like, what you're talking about, Chris, is kind of a unified content modeling structure, right? So if you have like a component, a teaser or a carousel, it should have like a kind of a standard content model. If you have a product across all the commerce systems, it should have like kind of a standard abstract content structure, right?
Yeah, as a base. Like, I mean, you're going to have extra fields that are specific to your client, but if those base elements are there across all of the vendors, then you can read a product regardless of who the backend is, right? You can get the SKU, you can get the title, you can get the short and long description. And so by having that, then yeah, you can go to whatever CMS you want, and your data structure matches. And there are standards out there. They're just built in like there are data, like there are organizations that have like taxonomy structures that are out there that are like compliant structure for a product, compliant structure for whatever type of data. It's just that all the vendors have been used to doing it their own way because they kind of want to get you stuck with them. and we have to change that mentality.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree. And one of the things that we are really planning to do to solve that very problem is to allow you to create your content modeling for a headless CMS or headless commerce system or any headless system within Kajoo in a standard abstract way. So you would go and build your, when I say content model, I mean in the Cycle language, the data templates, right? So when you're going to build any website on either Sitecore or Content Stack or any CMS, the first thing you need to do is to build that content model, right? Or the data templates, the data structure for your content. And we found if we provide this architectural tool and in an abstract way, you can think about the content model and then you can visually build these templates and connect them to each other in a logical way, then you can really push them to any system. You can create these data templates in Sitecore and you can push another button and create them in Content Stack, or maybe create them in Content Hub or their cloud. Doesn't matter where you create them. As long as we are connected to these systems through APIs, which is standard thing as well, RESTful APIs, you can just create this anywhere. And then if you want to migrate from, I don't know, Content Stack to Sitecore, you just push that content model to a new system. So very interesting point, Chris. Thank you for bringing that up. I don't know if that answers your question, Jean-Nicolas, or this is.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I totally agree too. We have a part to play with that kind of that strategy, I'd say. But just like Chris says, it's not just about the vendors. It's also about us, the users, and the community behind that, and start using more generic way to communicate. If you want to play the game as a good neighbor, such like Psychor says want to be, I think the others should be playing the same game, because the competition will start to be like, if you're not playing the game right, maybe I'm gonna play with Psychor more. Then so I think it will be fairly. It's going to be fair for everybody there.
Yeah, and also, like, the advantage of SaaS platforms is that any change they do, it's backward compatible. Most of the times, the good systems, they're backward compatible. They don't do like breaking changes, and that would help. Your code, your application wouldn't break when they upgrade. That's the promise, right? That's a promise of a SaaS headless CMS or system, that you don't have to upgrade it and changes are not breaking.
Yeah, nice.
Cool.
As anyone else has a question or comments? I don't think so. All right. Do you want, guys? I can take back the screen sharing just to conclude this user group.
Sure.
Well, I hope I have it somewhere, right? Okay. So it's just a thank you note, right? But I'm just I'm going to do this. No, it's not working. All right. I just want to say thank you guys for joining in. Also, a big thank you, Nabil and Sana. I really love the presentation. I love Kajoo. It's really cool. I wasn't expecting it to be that way. It's very awesome. I think there's many opportunities with that as well. So thank you for sharing this live demo. It's awesome. The recording should be available real soon. I'm gonna share with you guys as well. Thanks again to College La Salle to enable me to host some of those events. Yeah, so I'm gonna keep in touch real soon with everybody. There will be more conferences. I think the next one should be in person, but I definitely like this remote session. I think it enables session that we will not have if it was in person. So thanks a lot, Nabil. Thanks a lot, Sana.
No worries.
Really,
Thank you so much for organizing this. I just put also like the link for the Kajoo app on the chat. This is an open invitation for everybody who attended this to sign up and try the platform for free.
nice.
So yeah, just sign up and we'll work with you to onboard you and set you up.
Great. Awesome. All right. So on that, guys, that's the end of the session, and I hope everybody liked it. And cheers to some more.
Thank you very much for hosting
Thank
it
you so
or
much, everybody.
inviting us.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.